Welcome, strangers, to Talkumentary, a show where we watch documentaries and then get together and talk about it.
Nighttime. Blurred orange lights slowly drift into view. A quiet basement comes into focus. An occasional sniffle or cough comes from one of the scruffy-looking men settled into soft brown leather chairs. A dusty brown radio is posted along the white brick wall. A brown kite floats across the sky and lands on a new episode of Talkumentary.
Welcome to the 45th episode of Talkumentary. I am your host, Jeff Kolaski, the head veterinarian for the evening. Allow me to introduce my veterinarian crew, our handling our website and our grants and finances for our wildlife rescue. Over there, it's King James himself. Hi, James.
Hey.
Good thing you're doing the math.
Yeah,
Good thing we're doing the math.
Yeah, you're doing our grants and our website and all that stuff. Our resident errand boy over there cleaning the poop out of all the bird cages. My sister, Lauren Kolaski. Hi, sister.
Hi,
Welcome.
the errand boy.
You're the
That's
errand
me.
boy.
I like it.
Our head errand boy.
I will be henceforth, I will only answer to errand boy.
Errand boy.
Yes.
Errand boy. So before
BOI.
James, what's up, man? How you doing?
All right.
You had a birthday in October.
I was going to ask you.
Yep.
All the way back in
Yesterday.
October.
All the way back in October.
Uh-huh.
In October.
So now you're 43 years old. You're 18 years old with 43 years of experience, I heard.
That's what it is. Almost like bam, there it is.
Born
Bam.
October 1962. I'm not 61. I'm 18 with 43 years of experience.
Nice.
There you go.
I
Yep.
like that.
Happy birthday, man.
Happy
Thank you
birthday,
very much.
James.
Thank you very much.
Did you do anything fun for your birthday?
My son took me out to some
Fancy restaurant?
fancy Italian restaurant. Yeah, it's pretty good. Then he made me walk all the way around the old market.
Yeah.
I like,
What'd
Was
you
it-
eat?
Yeah, what
I-
did you eat?
I cannot remember right now.
It was shrimp.
It was I know
Lasagna.
it was lasagna mixed with shrimp.
Was
in
it
was
lasagna
pretty-
soup?
No, it was a lasagna soup.
Yum.
Yeah, that sounds interesting, but no. Yeah, it was like a shrimp cream
Oh
thing,
my God.
something like that. I don't know.
How did you somehow make it sound gross? Well,
It was
birthday.
delicious.
happy birthday, Grandpa James.
Yep, thank you.
Before the smog in here gets any worse or the riots start to run out into the streets, I'm going to get a few things out of the way before we get into our episode. Please go out, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite podcast streaming service. Let us know what you think of our show. If you want to connect to our crew, look for @Talkumentary Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, or you can email us at...
info.talkumentary@gmail.com.
Thank you, sister.
You bet.
James, would you have been able to recite that?
I would not have. I did not even remember it. I'm not going to lie. I got an excuse. I'm 61 years old.
No, you're 18.
You're 18 with
Oh, 18.
43 years of experience.
Yeah.
that's right.
Make sure you all of our listeners out there, you guys, you listen all the way to the end of our show because there might be some information you'll want to hear. Speaking of that, it is shout out time.
Woohoo!
We need to give a shout out to none other than friend of the show and friend of my sister over there, Kimberly Whitehill.
Yeah, Kimmers.
Yeah, Kimmers. She hit us with a fry bread word of the day a little while ago from our Rumble episode. So that was a lot of fun.
That was.
Kim, thanks for listening.
Hi, Kim.
You're probably here for her, even
Most
though
people are.
you should. Yeah.
Just joking.
And we have another shout out. We have one more. But it's a repeat shout out.
Yeah, we know who this is and whose mom it is.
Yeah.
Not mine.
It's to our mother, Kathy Human, a.k.a. Mama Cat, a.k.a.
Jeff's mama.
Jeff's mama cat.
Jeff's mama cat. I almost said fox.
Well, yeah,
Either one.
that's close enough too. She hit us with a fry bread as well. So thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Also,
everybody.
I thought it was kind of cool that she said that we have both had fry bread before, which I did not know.
No, I know. In that episode, I'm going, I don't know what fry bread is. What are you talking about? And then she's like, you've had it. You were like 6, but well, yeah, that's probably why I don't remember. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. If you want a shout out, make sure you listen to the end of one of our shows, and we will give you the word of the week, and then you get on our social media and you say it or something, and we'll give you a shout out. If you make it really funny, we might even read what you said, but no promises.
No.
This week, we have made our way to Delhi, India, to take a look into the world of a wildlife rescue, trying to survive among the deteriorating urban streets, the worsening pollution, the civil unrest, and a whole slew of other issues, all while saving countless numbers of the bird of prey most commonly known as a kite. We watched the 2022 Oscar-nominated documentary titled All That Breathes. Here is the trailer. I didn't load it in, so it's all in Hindi anyway. So
that is true.
So Matt, you can go ahead and put that in.
Insert
here.
Trailer here.
Insert trailer here. Matt, is that going to be distracting, Lauren? Too late.
A little bit.
This documentary was directed by, so full disclosure, no disrespect meant, but these are Indian names, most of them. Well, some of them, and I'm not going to do a good job with the names, but I'm going to try my best. Directed by Shaunak Sen. Shaunak Sen. Produced by Shaunak Sen, Aman Man, and Teddy Leifer.
Leifer.
Teddy Leifer.
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 So the first game name is I Will Not Sin. Is that how you say your name was?
I Will Not Sin.
What'd you say the guy's name was again? Shall Not Sin.
Shaunak Sen.
Oh, Shall Not Sin. Okay, thank you.
So first guy's name was I Shall Not Sin.
I
shall not sin. Welcome. I shall not sin. I am a man.
I was going to say.
We had to cut that out.
A man that will not sin.
Sounds like fire and brimstone, like evangelical preacher.
A man shall not sin.
I shall not sin.
Teddy Leifer. The audio description narrated by Melissa Exelberth. No, Exelberth.
Dang.
This film was a HBO documentary films, Rise Films, Kite Rabbit Films, HHMI Tangled Bank Studios production, streamed on Max. All That Breathes scores a fresh 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yep, sure did. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah. Tomato meter with 86 reviews and 83% audience score with over 100 ratings. I'm interested in what you guys think about those reviews, but I want to read these ratings real quick.
Yes.
A fresh review from Marjorie Baumgarten of Austin Chronicles says, quote, "All That Breathes instills admiration and wonder while also subtly implicating human beings and in a responsibility for the upkeep and furtherance of life." Ba-bam. And a rotten review from Ezekiel Boetti.
Zeke.
It's Ezequiel. Ezequiel.
Wow.
Ezequiel. Ezequiel Boetti of Cacciopepe. Otroscenes.com. Quote, "Another sample that demonstrates that for certain circles, the only way to digest poverty is to dress it up until it becomes unrecognizable." Anyway, we'll have a link with credit information in the show notes.
Show notes.
Let's get into it. Warning, if you want this to not be spoiled for you, go watch it. Go watch it. Come back, join us.
I take an usad on these names.
Okay, so let's talk about those reviews. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. Lauren just breathed out heavily the word "how." I
Don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't either.
So, not to take anything from this because it was a very well made documentary.
Very well made.
I think it did bring a little bit of light onto things, but I have some opinions on all of that. But overall, 99% is a pretty fucking high review for this. But James, thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning again. Oh, shit. Wow, 99.
Yeah.
Maybe are they all from that country though? You know, probably.
Are they all from India?
They're all from India? Maybe. I don't know.
I
mean, because it might have been more enjoyable if
Yeah.
we didn't have to read subtitles. I mean, that's
or
very.
listen to Melissa Etheridge.
Or listen to Melissa.
Had either of you seen this before?
No.
No.
Have you heard of it?
No.
Nope.
So I saw this pop up on HBO, shortly after we started this show, and I was like, "Oh, this looks neat." It was interesting when so every shot that they show, like every still, always shows Salik. Okay, so he was the errand boy basically for the two brothers, Saud and Nadim, but he doesn't get credited for like anything.
Really?
When I was everything I was reading about this was just brothers Nadim and Saud, you know, and
he's like a huge part of it. This dude lost his glasses to a kite.
Yeah, it took him right off his face.
That was hilarious.
It was.
I laughed.
I laughed too, and I thought it was funny how they kept that going.
Yeah.
They'd be like, "Stop talking about your stupid glasses." Of course, that wasn't their actual words.
Right,
It was
yeah.
the guy's voiceover that was doing all the voices.
All of them,
Yeah.
even the wife, everybody,
and Nanu, the
and
little
Nanu.
boy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Any predictions going into this before you started watching? I mean, you say all that breathes. You look at the cover and you see Salik staring down a kite.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think this was going to be, James?
I have a clue. All that breathes, and I'm thinking they're gonna talk about more than one type of bird or one more type of animal, and they're gonna help out a lot of things, and that's what I got out of it. A man staring at a bird, and the bird staring at the man, and that's pretty much, that's a 99.99% of the ratings.
I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what you just said.
Well, I was saying, it just came out where all that breathes. You seen the picture, you seen the guy staring at the bird.
Mm-hmm.
It got a rating of 99, and that's what they rated it for. I mean,
Yeah.
it was just that. I don't get it.
Yeah,
But anyway,
sister.
yeah, go ahead.
I kind of thought that it was going to be kind of what it was, but I also
but
am I wrong in thinking that I still don't know why the kites matter so much to that?
nope. That's a question I have, and I
Because that was the whole, when I read the synopsis, it said it's so crucial. This bird is so crucial to their ecosystem or whatever it said.
yeah.
Well, I can't remember the words that they used, but it was something along the lines of
Right.
the birds play such a huge part in the
Yeah. The
ecosystem of Delhi, and they're trying to save these birds, but I don't know why. Does it have to do with the trash and the
That's what I'm
death?
thinking.
So there was two things that they mentioned throughout the doc. One was the trash, where they said that so the kites eat the trash. They have these giant trash mountains, but they also in the same breath said, But if the kites weren't there, something else the buzzards would come or something else would come. The world
Right.
takes care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
They mentioned that. So whether that's true or not, someone's phone, is that my phone?
It must be your phone. It must, because mine's not doing anything.
It is. Look, I can see it vibrating in the. Okay,
Oh,
it's done. Jesus.
This wasn't me this time, you know.
Yeah. But the other thing was they talked about the like religious side of it with the what do they call it? Meat throwing.
Mm-hmm.
Where they would throw the meat up and the kites would catch it and they were supposed to take away some of your things.
I wrote that down.
So we can talk about that a little bit more, but I don't know. So some details about the documentary. Two brothers, Nadeem Shehzad and Mohammed Saud, were raised in Delhi, India, looking at a sky speckled with black kites, watching as relatives tossed meat up to these birds of prey. Muslim belief held that feeding kites would expel troubles. Now, birds are falling from the polluted, opaque skies of Delhi, and the two brothers have made it their life's work to care for the injured birds. This documentary is the story of Nadeem, Saud, and their friend Salik, which I put that in there, as they run a bird clinic where 20,000 raptors have been cured over the last 20 years. The director, Shaunak Sen, I shall not sin, said, quote, I am drawn by the subject of interconnectedness of an ecosystem, one that humans are a part of, not apart from. A part of, not apart from. How man and animals share space and become part of the whole. It is a valuable story. Okay. First and foremost, I want to say that this documentary, although it was very, very beautifully made, was way too slow and cryptic for my liking.
Same.
There were so many long shots of blurry and slow pan to another shot where something comes into focus. It doesn't really give much context. But man, there were some cool shots in this.
There was.
It was beautiful. So, you could tell that some time and effort was definitely put into the setting up the shots and all that.
Yep.
But I am so sorry, to keep my attention and to keep me interested, I needed more. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And I had to watch this in 2 sittings.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I had to watch this in 2 sittings. I had it going, and I thought, I kept being like, I reading along with
You're
the
a slow
slowness.
reader. We got it.
No, I'm not a slow reader, but reading puts me to sleep.
Yep.
And it was like, I just couldn't keep my eyes open. So I paused it, and I realized I was only halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, I've got to just wait until tomorrow to finish this.
Yep.
No disrespect to anybody.
No.
It was beautiful. I just couldn't. I started it too late anyways, but
James, your thoughts on that?
I think the same way. It was slow reading, and when I read, I fall asleep also. So
Yeah.
One thing I had
there's
going
not
on-
many things that don't put you to sleep.
you're right about that.
When you drive, you sleep. When you work, you
I
sleep.
sleep. Well, hold on. When I work, I don't really sleep.
When you
That
podcast, you sleep. When you read, you sleep. But anyway,
Mhm.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. One thing that kept me rolling is I had some food out on the grill, so I would pause it, jump up, and I woke up just get the grill going again, and check it, then run back and sit down and watch it again. And I'm like, God, dog.
That's funny.
Like, when is this thing gonna be over with? You know? But it had interesting stuff in it though. Still,
Yeah.
I learned some things.
Yep. And so I thought that it was really, one thing that I thought was really interesting about the documentary was how much they focused on and showed us all the different types of animals that were everywhere. So we saw cows, rats.
Wrote them all down.
Did you get?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell us what we found.
Obviously birds,
Birds.
pigs,
Birds.
There was pigs. There was cows.
Mhm.
There was lizards. There was goats. There was a snail. There was
Mhm.
dogs. There was horses. There was ants. There was camels. There was turtles. There was humans. There was rats.
Did you say dogs?
Yes, I did. Right after
you
I
say
said
cats?
snail. I did not say cats. I don't remember seeing
There
a
was a
cat.
cat on the freezer
Oh, yeah,
refrigerator.
the black
Yeah.
cat that ran over.
Write it
the
down.
front, yeah.
You'll need that
Cats.
later for your.
Okay, cats.
Yes. And there was a shitload of flies too.
Oh,
Oh,
heck
yeah.
I like the centipede. I like the centipede. It crawled under the water. It was coming through the water.
Oh, yeah.
Out on the bag.
Yep.
I didn't know that. I didn't know centipedes can go
I
underwater.
didn't know that either.
Me neither. That's even more disgusting.
Yeah.
So all along the streets, we're seeing these animals, and it wasn't just out in like the woods. You know, it was right in the middle of the street.
Like right next to the street, that
Right.
turtle was like crawling over all that garbage.
Yeah, and the trash along the streets and things like this really put into perspective the difference in culture and the types of poverty that certain parts of India, just deal with on a daily basis, which to me was just crazy. And it's really interesting to me that how it's become an ecosystem, the whole thing that just as much involves humans, like what the director I Shall Not Sin said. And the ways that mankind has negatively affected that ecosystem. We saw trash piles that the kites actually helped keep in check. If the kites weren't around, the trash piles would be bigger than they already are, blah, blah, blah. The stuff we already kind of talked about, and how they live alongside, all these animals. But the environment is so toxic.
Right. The air is bad.
The air, the water, they mentioned the water smells.
Right.
You've got sewage that's coming straight down the middle of the street, and as a monsoon comes, it's in your garage.
Right. And I thought it was crazy how like he was walking on those bricks.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Just to keep himself out of the muck. Yeah.
It's kind of sad because
Yeah.
you would think that all those there was really no real natural nature around.
Yeah.
Except for the streams, but anything else was just
Well, even the streams, I think, were
Polluted.
polluted and disgusting.
was that
yeah.
soap that was floating down. Like, what was that?
Who
White
knows,
stuff.
I
man?
don't know.
It looked like it might have been soap, and I kind of felt sad because they had one bird
Watching the soap.
watching the soap go by. You couldn't,
Yeah.
it was kind of interesting. And I said,
Yes.
now
Yeah.
I always talk about America sometimes, but America looks good. America looks good.
Comparatively, yeah.
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 Compared to some places. Yeah.
Mhm.
What, Lauren, what something that stood out to you about this that we could talk about?
Yeah. I really thought the meat thing was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
How when they eat the meat you offer, it said somebody said, I don't remember who said it, but it says when they eat the meat you offer, they eat away your difficulties.
Yeah.
Feeding kites earns sawab, which is a word meaning religious credit,
Yeah.
and they said, and their hunger is insatiable. And I thought that was like really kind of a cool,
Yeah.
I don't know what the right word is for it, but it's kind of a cool thing. Like
Well,
it's a neat offering. Like I've
Yeah.
never heard of anything like that before.
Me neither. And I like that. It's almost like giving a sacrifice, to a god or something like that in ancient, religious beliefs and things like that. But if you talk about all the different things, whether it's ancient religions or whether it's, the occult or whether it's, anything like that where, good luck charms, for example, things like that somebody along some, time in history has decided this means something because of this. Well, a 4-leaf clover is lucky because of this. And so somebody at some point decided whether it was divinated to them, if that's the right word, but like shown to them divinely by some entity or by a god, or, and I know the Hindu religion has, I'm no religious expert, but, several different gods. And I don't know, they didn't really get too far into that. But to say this meat represents my troubles and my issues, this predator is an insatiable predator that cannot be, you can give this as much of your troubles as you want, and it will keep coming back.
And it'll take it away, and and it's gone.
Yeah, if that's not a good metaphor for what you would want a godlike being to be, an insatiable forgiver, and I will take as many of your troubles as you can lay on me.
Yep.
And I'll keep
because I'm
eating it.
hungry forever.
Yep. And I will always
and I'll always take that.
Take more.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that I was like, that is a really neat sentiment.
Yeah.
I like to learn about that kind of stuff where it's like, how people offer, like what kinds of things people offer to their ancestors or their gods or their, and this was something I'd never heard of before. And that's really neat.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
There was, when I was in Japan, we would do some grill outs, and there was always, I don't know what kind of birds they were. We always thought that they were some sort of hawks. They could have been some sort of a kite or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
mean, they kind of look like vultures or hawks.
Yeah, but they would fly around when we were cooking, and we would literally throw little chunks of chicken up there, and they'd catch them, and it was fun. And now I have a different appreciation for
no
that.
Kidding.
Like, man, I want to go to India and throw some
meat at a bird.
Some meat at a bird.
Heck yeah. I want to do that too. Another thing that kind of stood out to me enough for me to write it down is this one little snippet of a quote. I don't even know in what context it was, but the only quote that I wrote down was, "We were teenage bodybuilders at the time."
Right.
What?
Yeah. Nadim and Saud apparently were bodybuilders at one point.
That is so crazy to me. It was just so out of context.
Right.
It came out of left field and like hit me like a Mack truck. I had to write it down. I paused it.
I said, "Hold on, these guys are bodybuilders."
Right.
At least you could see some remnants of something. I didn't see anything.
Well, the thing is they probably did it healthier. They probably were just working out. So when they stopped, they just kind of reverted back.
Right.
Whereas like a lot of Americans who do it are like juiced up or like going with all the different, pre-post workout, all that stuff. So they probably have a harder time going back to it. But I don't know.
But the good thing about it, they learned the muscles and the ligaments, and how to work on the birds and stuff.
That was interesting. So we never really found out if these guys, if any of these guys have any like education on whether or not they can be taking care of these animals. Like, if you learned your anatomy by bodybuilding, we don't have the same anatomy as a bird,
nah.
And in some ways it's kind of like, well, they're not an endangered species.
No harm, no foul.
Right. But they got government funding eventually from this. And, so you would imagine that there'd be some kind of checks. I know in the United States, if they wanted to start something like this, there's no way they'd let them be a go-to if they didn't have some sort of,
definitely
credentials.
But opening a hospital.
Right.
Like,
but I don't know. James, what stood out to you, man? Do you remember the documentary?
I barely remember that. No, I remember.
You watched it today.
I watched it today, so it's fresh up there somewhere. The thing that I like nature a lot. I like a lot of nature. But when they said that due to all the changes in like the trash and everything else, the birds' natural functions where they probably collect insects, rodents, or whatever they get, they now rely upon the people now. So they use people instead of using their natural instincts. And I thought that's kind of sad, but I understand it now.
Sure.
So that stood out with me. And then the houses that they set on fire and stuff like that, and they had to stand outside and watch
All
the house.
the riots and
riots,
stuff.
That were 2 kilometers.
Right. So I can go into that just a little bit. There was, to me, a lot of unanswered questions in this. I feel like it was very cryptic. Like you mentioned I think you mentioned it at the beginning. Perhaps if we were Indian living in that, in Delhi or in New Delhi or somewhere around there, or if we were more, in tune with world politics and things like that were going on, maybe, we would understand a little better. But had it not been for this show, I would have never thought to actually look up any of this stuff. Right. There was a lot left unsaid about what was going on around them.
Right.
And we had a lot of background noise from the TVs and radios and things that were around, and you could hear like the loudspeakers in the background, news stories happening and slight mentions of riots and things like that. But we never got any explanation, which in some ways, isn't the responsibility of a filmmaker to give all the background. It was a creative choice that they made to make the movie more cryptic. Maybe to cause white American like myself to go out and do some research if they really want to know more. But in true lazy American fashion, that isn't type of documentary I really enjoy that much. I like to get some more from it. I'm all for the aesthetic beauty and all that, but it's got to have something else for me to really enjoy it.
Or it needs to be just that.
For that.
Where that you're going into it as like a cinematic thing where you're going to be looking at nature or whales or whatever.
Exactly.
Like those like David Attenborough type of nature documentaries and stuff, or like more like an expose or like
right. Yeah.
I don't know. But when you go into it knowing that you're going to be just looking at beautiful landscapes and hearing music and, a guy with a British accent every now and then saying, look at the whales, whatever.
Look at the whales. Look at my British accent.
Look at the British accent. This is not British.
The guy sounds great.
Yeah, he does. Even when we watch like Fantastic Fungi.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Like you knew that's what you were getting.
At the very beginning, it was produced by Moving Art. So you expect this is going to be a high resolution visual thing. This one, I needed more to really get a whole lot out of it. But
I at least needed to know why the kites were important. And I didn't even get that.
Right. I did a little research onto what was going on in this time, and I found, and I'm going to do my best to kind of, I don't know all the history. I don't know, all of what the politics have gone on. So don't hold me to any of this, but this is just a short bit about, just to maybe give some context of what was going on around Nadim and Saud and Salik as they were doing their trying to make a wildlife rescue work. The reports were about the Indian Constitution and the Citizenship Amendment Act. And later in the documentary, it changes into the anti-Muslim riots of 2020. So India witnessed nationwide protests in 2019 and 2020 against the Citizenship Amendment Act, or the CAA, which facilitates the granting of Indian citizenship to religious minorities from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, as long as they practice any religion other than Islam. So that's where the whole thing came in. So Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis, they were all welcome as refugees, but if you were Muslim, they were excluded. You were excluded. This obviously, I think, caused activists in and around India to criticize the law for making religion a basis for granting citizenship, claiming that it's against the Indian Constitution, which I don't know the Indian Constitution, but I would imagine it would seem...
If it's anything like ours.
Yeah, if it's anything like most democratic constitutions, it's going to have something along, we can't discriminate based on religion, unless you're a Muslim. Like, that doesn't make sense. It can also render many Indian Muslims as stateless, since it's extremely hard to meet the stringent requirements for proof of identity and nationality, from what I read. All that said, this all caused riots, and the riots were not far from the home of these guys and the rest of their family. And they claimed that religious riots were not a new thing to them, but this one felt different. They didn't really explain why this one felt different.
Whoa.
I don't think we're educated enough to get very deep into this.
I for sure am not.
Yeah, into the politics and unrest of India, but I think it was helpful to look into this a little bit to try to make some sort of sense of what was going on in this documentary.
Yeah.
And it did seem to me that they were a Muslim family, Nadim and Saud. James, do you have some knowledge about those things? That I don't think they ever said that they were Muslim.
No, I don't think they did, but when they were doing like the calls to prayer and stuff, they were just kind of standing around. So something tells me that whatever those calls to prayer were, they weren't participating.
Right, they didn't do that, but they did in the graveyard.
In the graveyard,
were doing Muslim type prayers and stuff like that.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I wonder.
Well, I assumed that the calls to prayer was not Muslim. I mean, because right.
I would think so.
Because if you're...
But who knows?
Who knows, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
So anyway, in the film, they mentioned that the government has somehow spread disgust about certain people by calling them termites and rats, which was gross.
Yikes.
They've also made it about hygiene, they mentioned. And they related that to how a kite is treated differently than other animals. Again, I don't fully understand, and I apologize if our listeners watched this and they came here and they want us to be able to explain everything, because I don't get a lot of the answers. I mean, we just watched it too. But that hopefully sheds a little light on what was going on and what was happening around them. And it was pretty wild when at the part where Saud was sitting outside and he's going, I'm sitting out here to make sure nobody basically lights my place on fire or destroys something right out here. And everyone else is sitting out in the streets too. And we sent our families to a different part of India to be with other family because it wasn't safe. That was wild.
Yeah.
Those are things that like we don't think about here as much, you know,
right.
Like just hearing the one, was it Salik that was talking to his mom on the phone in the taxi or in the the taxi or wherever whatever he
with
was
the mouse in his pocket.
Oh yeah, well,
who else was shocked?
Little ground squirrel. I would shock. I thought it was cute.
He's having this whole conversation and then
like
he just
trying to calm his mom down
Yeah.
because she thinks that he might get caught in the middle of some kind of riot or something. And
then he just kind of nonchalantly looks down, reaches into his pocket, and pulls out this little mouse. They called it a mouse on the on the audio description. That's why I keep calling it. I don't know if it really was a ground, whatever it was. He just pulls it out, kind of puts it around his hand, and then just puts it back in his pocket. Like
fondles
you always
puts
have
it back in his pocket.
How much of this show did you have a mouse
Like,
in
is
your
this
pocket?
Ratatouille? What's happening?
He kind of had the nose of the Remy from Ratatouille.
And I thought it.
Yeah.
When that happened, I thought Ratatouille.
That is really funny. One thing that I learned, so when I was doing before watching, I did a little bit of research. I watched a trailer. I looked at the website for the wildlife rescue and whatnot, and they alluded to in some article or something about the effect that you remember in a short part of the film, they alluded to the flying of those paper kites.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that?
Yeah.
So apparently what I learned was that there's a much bigger problem to these birds in the flying of those paper kites than they alluded to in the film.
Huh.
So apparently the paper kites have this glass coated string, which they call manja, which can be potentially lethal to birds and actually humans too. because it can cut the throats of the birds and the wings and stuff of the birds.
Mm.
And I
they
guess,
get tangled in it or
yeah,
something.
and I guess there's thousands of these kites that they fly up there. So to me, they could have focused a lot more on that.
Yeah.
And that would have made a really interesting comparison. The kite bird versus the kite,
Like the
whatever,
paper
the
kite.
paper kite. And India has actually tried to ban the kite flying, but it's failed because this is some sort of tradition. And
What?
right, it's been said that the paper kite flying practices and that glass coated string is the number one cause of bird injuries that is treated at the wildlife rescue.
Why didn't we know that in this documentary?
That's exactly what I was wondering.
So
Why did they
weird.
decide to, so to me, I go, okay, so it leads me to wonder, what was the filmmaker's goal in making this? Was the goal to focus on these guys?
Mm-hmm.
Was the goal to focus on the civil unrest,
Well,
the ecosystem, the environment?
I feel like it might be the environment because of all of the nature shots, like all of the, the cool silhouetted ants and
Right.
things. Like, how in the world did you get that shot? Like, that's insane to me.
Right.
It was awesome. It
Was.
was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And showing these, these animals thriving, even though there's trash everywhere and there's sewage everywhere and there's basically a river going down the middle of the street. They're still there and thriving. I don't know.
Yeah. We don't know their actual health, but they're there.
But they're there and they're
Right.
moving and they're doing their thing.
Right.
The turtle is
Climbing up the
Climbing
trash pile
over
just
the-
like it would
Yeah.
a rock or a sand dune
right.
or something. But
They did play it. Everything they played on the videos. One thing I like about this video that everything was for real. You can just say everything was honestly for real.
Yeah.
There was no spin on anything, just
Trying to sugarcoat it
no
or
sugarcoating,
looking
the
like
argument with the wife, the brothers getting in the argument and they don't sit to each other for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, that was so I thought that was so weird, like how different that. So I just kept thinking, like, if that was me and you having a conversation like that where you were going to leave or something, I don't know. Like, it would have been so different. Like, I would have been way more outspoken. These people just kind of sat there and looked at each other.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Like-
and then
I have a hard time holding eye contact with you regardless.
I know.
I don't
It's because
like it.
I'm Medusa. You'll turn to stone. If I take my glasses off. See? Told you. He's frozen.
Frozen.
Forever.
kite
Haha,
time.
James. This is our podcast now.
Something that stood out to me maybe the most about this film was the unrelenting patience that the wildlife rescue crew shows throughout the documentary. Despite power outages, despite the sewage backups we talked about, the extreme heat they always talk, the fucking flies,
Freezer going out?
Yes.
Or the refrigerator going
yeah,
out? Whew.
the meat grinding and all those flies, the failed attempts at getting funding and things like that. They keep plugging away at these kites one at a time, helping the birds that no one else wants to help. So they mentioned that not wanting to help the birds because they were not a vegetarian bird. Did you catch that? What's that about? Anyone have any idea?
There's probably some kind of, I don't know.
Some type of religious thing.
Yeah, I
probably.
would
it?
assume it's some kind of religious thing about the meat. Like, it has to be some kind of certain.
Are
Meat
all
or not.
Indians vegetarian? No. So
Because they eat goats and stuff, right? Like, I've had Indian food. We've all had Indian
yeah,
food
I mean,
before.
chicken marsala is
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's real good. I just had it the other day.
Nice. Your gut still hurt from it? Or?
No,
Okay.
it was perfect. It was like a Boda box of Indian food. It was great. It was like a lunch thing. Sorry.
It's like a lunch.
It was so good. I almost said it was disgusting.
It was disgusting.
dis-
I loved
It
it.
was disgustingly good.
But yeah, I don't know that anything would make me want to keep doing what these guys were doing. And all the while, so something I would love to ask these guys, some information that I wish that I had. So do they make any money doing this.
Right. Is it all just government funded or?
Right. Because they were running a soap dispenser business, I guess,
wondered
or distributing.
What that was about. I must have missed it.
They mentioned a soap dispenser business that they were running. And at one point there was Saud when Salik was bringing in box after box of different kites and he's sitting there testing this soap pump, making sure it works, switching out the thing and
Know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like this. Have you ever seen this?
I've ever seen one of those.
Look at this.
Yeah, the one of those.
Yeah,
Look at
it's a
this.
goofy finger.
This right there, that's a goofy finger.
I don't know if
hate
that guy
it
do
so
anything
much.
with the soap punch, but I guess we could tie it in.
Yeah.
Somehow.
But yeah, I wonder about that. I wonder, like,
Well, they can't because it's just
it's just
they're
things that
just
people.
public domain birds, right?
Right. Yeah. The people are just bringing in these birds and dropping them off,
Or they're like,
catching them.
there's a bunch of birds over there. They won't stop dive bombing us or whatever.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
the little
hold-
kid that came to the door or whatever and
hold a
was like,
stick,
right.
hold a pole up, and wear a helmet.
That's kind of a good thing to know.
Yeah.
I took that away as well. Like if there's ever a time where I need to like get into my apartment,
And
but
there's
there's
kites everywhere.
well, if there's like a bird nest or something, it's good to know that if you have a stick, probably they won't be able to dive by.
And a helmet.
And a helmet. I have one in my car at all
You see the
times.
pigeons?
What?
There are a lot of pigeons in there too.
Pigeons?
Pigeons.
Pigeons.
You got pigeons in there?
Anyway,
Did you guys feel culture shock when you watched this?
A little bit.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
What about this kind of shocked you? Because I did.
Well, I mean, it's just such a different kind of poverty than what we're used to seeing here.
Yep.
And it was kind of mind-boggling.
Yep. Even go ahead, James. You had something you wanted to
as a
say.
kid, as kids, we didn't have much as a kid, but same way that his kids are, they don't see the problem. They're
Right.
happy that it games and everything else. So there's no problem to them. The problem is that the knowledge of understanding and knowing what is what with the adults. So it was interesting.
Yeah, but the culture shock for me there. Yeah, we have poverty in the United States. Some of us may have experienced some of that, but you still had access to clean
Clean
water.
water.
Clean water, healthcare.
You still had access to law enforcement. You still had access to sanitation, like garbage services. There might be some certain parts of town or parts of the country that are a little less, upkept than others, but it's not filthy to the point where people are getting sewage,
because of the
running down the middle of the street.
trash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we, that was the most shocking thing to me, because that's not to say, I don't want to say that. I don't want there to feel like I'm saying anything shameful about that, because there's not something that a single person or whatever, or even that small community could change, right? I'm not trying to talk down about anyone's situation or anything like that, but if anything, it made me feel kind of sad, because I'm going, man. So we did our episode about happiness, right? Often people with less things are happier. And I wonder about the happiness levels in this part of the world, because although pollution and civil unrest probably have a lot to do with that, with their happiness, but maybe this is just, American privilege, I guess. Every ceiling fan or wall fan in that documentary had grime on it for days. I have trouble if I see one of my, return vents in my house dirty, and that of course is something that I am privileged enough to be able to worry about. But I have to imagine that's simply because of the air quality. I mean, they mentioned they have air cleaner in their house to try to keep things less polluted.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've never even had to really consider that. You know,
No.
we get the little like air quality thing on our phones
Yeah.
that says, you know, what's the air quality today? Pollutants are high, you know, okay.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about so high that we can't go outside today because we're going to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking about
Right.
if you can spend some time indoors where the air is
Right.
filtered, then, you know,
That's better.
Man, I just, you know, and all through this, I talk about happiness. You know, they're inside their little crowded garage playing a game of cricket.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to be having a good time, but
did
besides
seem-
Nadim being a cheating asshole who didn't want to admit that he was out or whatever. We hear them talking. So this is the second film that we've covered in a row that talked about mankind versus the Undertaker in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah. How? What?
Right. Our Christmas episode last week. I think it's last week. I get my schedule messed up, but
yeah.
listen to our Christmas episode. I am Santa Claus because Mick Foley, aka Mankind, is a big part of that one.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought that was kind of funny, like the little
I just
things.
thought I didn't know about that because
Yeah.
I wasn't on the Christmas episode, but
Yeah, neither
I
was
did notice that. I didn't write it down. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
that was
that's all
one
right.
thing that I.
Question for you guys: is a kite eating chicken cannibalistic?
No,
No.
a kite eating a kite would be cannibalistic.
Well,
Well, James and I look different from each other. If I eat James, is it cannibal?
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
both humans.
because you're both human.
Right.
Well, they're
So
both
Okay, well
birds.
they're both birds.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe.
Is that kind of fucked up?
Yeah, it's a little
Is
fucked
it kind of
up.
fucked up to feed a kite some chicken?
I mean, is it gonna hurt? Is it gonna hurt him?
Well, I don't know.
I think it's okay.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just thought
I
it was
also
weird.
think
Birds
it's
of
okay
prey,
if
you know.
I, you know.
That's true. Birds of prey versus fowl. It's, you know, a different type of,
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
And
I'll-
if,
Yeah.
we're, if we're like in the Donner Party or whatever, and I die, like
which of,
eat me.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't, but I won't eat you
Why?
because that's disgusting. Which one of us are you eating first?
I don't know nothing about that.
I'll
going.
just.
Yeah.
I live. Just solder it. No.
Solder?
Solderize.
Cauterize. Just solderize my
Solder-
leg
Solderize it.
because we
It'll
have
just
those
make-
kind of things out in the.
Yeah, obviously.
Me, I'll just starve.
No, you won't.
No.
Yeah, I ain't eating no human beings. I'm sorry.
I'm eating
no.
yo ass.
You
if-
probably would. You know, there's a lot of chunky butt over here too. You know.
Let it be known on the record that I just told James that I was going to eat his ass.
I know.
Yeah.
Forever, it's in the ether.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's gonna be in there, but you know. Yeah.
DJ, we're gonna need that as a soundbite.
Yeah,
Right.
Take that out. Lord have mercy on souls of man.
Later on in the documentary, we do find out the wildlife rescue finally got the funding it was going for. They were all beaming during this time, and I was very happy for them. They
Yes.
were,
Nice
There's also-
bird cages.
yeah, the
Yeah,
New
that
York
was
Times
cool.
did an article on them, and they got a bunch of attention. They get to make a logo. They get a new sign. They start building their new animal hospital.
Man. Animation and everything.
I
That was
know.
so fun. They were talking big.
Yeah. But despite all this, the brothers are still concerned that the area of the city they live is going to continue to deteriorate and going to be harder and harder for them to care for the birds, which is their ultimate goal.
Right.
I very much am curious as to why.
Me too.
You know, like, why are these birds so important? Why are they so important to them?
I kept waiting for
Did he
that.
say something about his mother or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, there was a part where they talked about their mother and the bird that, you know, they wouldn't, that the other vet hospital or whatever wouldn't take because if it wasn't a vegetarian, so they decided to take care of it. And, you know, I just don't think that they explained it very well.
Mm-mm.
And I've got to be honest, if it were me, I wouldn't want to do that. Especially if I was already doing my other business, the one that was making me money. And again, I don't know maybe there was a thing that if the more, maybe the Indian government is saying something like it gives throwbacks if you are some sort of a wildlife, I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I can't make assumptions there, and maybe that's American greed talking.
Well, and that's maybe,
You know.
and that's another thing. Like maybe there's just some unspoken things that if you are Indian from Delhi or whatever, that
makes
it's
sense.
just known.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
we just don't know it.
Yep.
And
I would
that's
be-
why it's kind of, there's some dots that aren't connected there for
Yeah.
us.
Yep. How did we feel after watching this? James, did you make it all the way through it?
Barely.
You
But I
told
did-
me like 10 minutes ago you didn't, so
Barely.
you fucking lying.
James is not going to tell anybody on the waves he was telling a story. I watched the rest of it while I was sitting in this chair.
Oh, okay.
So I finished
Just
it.
now.
Just now. Not long ago. And I'm still like, the end of it just reminds me of the beginning of it. Oops, excuse me. The beginning of it.
Yeah.
A man staring at a bird, and then in his brother talking to him, and there's no sound. Which kind of left me like, hold on, wait. Did something happen to this dude? Did they burn his house? I'm thinking,
Right.
what happened? And I kind of wish they would have kind of told you what happened.
Right.
You
They didn't
but
get much.
Didn't get nothing.
Yeah. The only thing I wrote down was ending was weird.
Right.
I felt very left on a ledge. I didn't feel like any closure whatsoever.
No.
I
I kinda
didn't
thought
get any kind of answers, nothing.
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of like almost, well, after I turned off everything, and I started thinking about it, I said, that could have been like a little joke, because his brother was kind of upset with him for a little bit,
Yeah.
You know how you ever see those little commercials where the grandma calls the boy on TV, that shows a picture of his face, and he calls him, and she said, honey, I got some work for you to do, and he just be still real quick, and he doesn't make a move, and the grandma was like, what's wrong with this phone? I think it's stuck, something like that. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe it's, I don't know. I
Yeah.
thought it was just funny then.
Yeah, his picture froze
Yeah.
and then it just went to
And then it
credits.
was like credits roll. And I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute, did I miss something? Did I accidentally
Exactly.
fast forward through the end of this film or
right,
what?
right. In some ways, I felt a little inspired because the resiliency of a people is pretty astonishing. The willingness to help a struggling bird when you clearly are struggling yourselves, that is inspiring. Going for it regardless of what else is going on, that's inspiring. But in other ways, unfortunately, I felt supremely bored when I was watching this. And that bummed me out because the reason I picked this one, and I never went into the why we chose this one, but the reason I picked this one is A, it's newer. We haven't done a lot of really new documentaries, and B, it won a ton of awards and was nominated for an Academy Award. And in other ways, I felt like, what was the point of the documentary? What are they doing? What keeps them going? So I feel like this is a story that I would really enjoy. I feel like the thought of these brothers taking care of the birds and all that, there is a story there that can be told. I just feel like so much of it was left to the imagination and for conjecture and for us to try to connect those dots that I just feel like I don't really watch a documentary to have to connect the dots. I watch it to get the information.
Yeah.
And to be able to make my own,
And walk away knowing more about whatever the subject
Yeah.
is. I don't know any more than when I walked in. I feel like I don't, like I guess I don't even know why the birds are falling out of the sky.
Right.
I don't know, how did they know to wrap the wing?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Right.
how are you, how do you, are you
From
just
Muscle
guessing?
Muscle Magazine.
Right. Yeah.
Flex it, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
But
they,
I just
they never,
feel like I never
Why are these things dying?
Right. Why are they falling out of the sky? Why are they injured all the
Right.
time? What is happening?
Why did all of the birds in your new cage die? Remember that scene where they pulled out all those dead birds? They never talked about that. Now, is it to be assumed that it's the smog and the pollution? Maybe.
But
how much of that is happening because of those kites that we talked about? I don't know. You know what? We just got so many questions, and unfortunately, I don't think we got a lot of things answered.
Right.
No.
Some of those birds I watched in the videos, I know for a fact that if they're feeding those birds what they're feeding them, some of those birds do not eat meat. Some of the, like the waterfowl bird, you know, what are they feeding that bird? That was one of the birds that died. You know, the Kessler, they had a Kessler on there, which is a small raptor bird. You know, they just, a lot of things that they didn't talk about. And then also I think it was, even though they talked about the birds, it had an undertone, a political undertone to it.
Yep.
And that's what I'm thinking too. So maybe that was the point, because it even had you look it up and find out information that now we all know this information now.
Right. But if I wasn't doing this show right now, I wouldn't have made it through this documentary.
Me either. I would have turned it off halfway through.
Yep.
If not sooner than
I
that.
agree with you. I agree with that too.
I mean, truthfully, if I didn't want to make sure that we had some content for our listeners to hear, some interesting things for us to talk about tonight, I wouldn't have cared to look it up.
Right.
Well, and that's it. That's just it. Like, it's a follow through thing at this point, because it's.
My sister was in the background asking me, I was watching. She's like, "So what is it about?" I'm just silent.
I don't know.
I don't really know.
I didn't even say anything.
What's
it about? What they doing? Like,
was it well made?
Yes.
yeah.
Agreed. I think that was the shining star of this one, was how wonderful the cinematography was. Yeah, that's it. What would you say, if you had to put a some words to it, what would you say was the overarching theme or the point of the documentary?
James?
I'll pass that one to you.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like I should say something like I don't know.
Change the title.
Well, and I think the title actually is part of why I believe that the overarching message was to say that you don't care for things because they share the same country, religion, or politics. You care for things because that is what
you should do.
That's kindness. We're all, and I believe they even said life itself is kinship. We're all a community of air. That's why we can't abandon the birds. And, and if there's a theme here, it's caring for things that can't care for themselves, mostly due to the fact that we as human race are the reason that they're struggling. Because whether it was the smog, whether it was the kite strings, whether it was the buildings or the trash or whatever it may be, those kites were fine before we got here, and so that was my overall take. So they did a lot of shots where, they zoomed in on the spider, right? And then they zoom out and it's in the middle of a street where there's the security guard or whatever. Or they zoomed in on a snail and zoomed out and it was sitting on a pile of trash. Or they zoomed in on the centipede and they zoom out and it's going through the sewage water and the cows and the pigs and all that. And to me, the whole message, the thing that I took away from it was, we have made a mess. Maybe we're just focusing on this specific part of the world right now, but it's not the only part.
No.
And it's not the only damage that we've done. And there are creatures here that have relied on our planet for longer than we have, and or, depending on what you believe, for just as long. But they didn't do anything to, all of that they're doing is
what
living in the world that we have, we have, made more difficult for them.
Yeah.
So so all that breathes. They made a mention of.
Yeah.
Do you have it there?
Yeah. I don't know that I wrote it down exactly right,
Mm-hmm.
but it's something like one shouldn't differentiate between all that breathes. So like
Right.
whether it's a human or a snail or a pig or a horse or a camel or whatever it is, it's no less important than
It deserves
humans.
to be.
It
cared
deserves
for.
to be cared for. It deserves to have, it deserves its spot in the world, and
Right.
and we got to do what we can to take care of them.
Yeah, and to me the biggest part of that is because we've ruined
Right.
their spot.
Right. Right. We came in and fucked everything up.
Pretty
Right.
much.
Yeah.
James, thoughts on that?
I agree. We came in. I mean, with many of the documentaries that we've done, man has been a great factor in destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to turn around and reverse it and think of different ways to clean. I don't know if I thought India was a rich nation,
Parts of it are.
and how come those rich people don't help out the other part,
That could be said about pretty much any country. There's parts of India that are very wealthy that are not at all like what we saw in this documentary. Just like there are parts of the United States that if you did a documentary on it would look a lot more poverty stricken than other parts.
Yeah, like San Francisco.
Jeff just froze. Like,
But David Chappelle said it was a dump, and everybody, it went media wild on it, and then they showed San Francisco, and truly, from what I know of San Francisco, the highlights. But when I saw all those people, this look like tents all over the place. I mean, all the way out in the street. There's thousands of them. I was like, wow.
I like, wow.
Yeah, that's my word.
Yep.
Dig it, baby.
All right. Anyone have anything you have within the things?
The only other thing that I had written down that I thought was kind of like what you were just talking about is how it's an ecological.
Talking on the microphone.
They kept they kept mentioning ecological tragedy. And it was like that's kind of, I guess, a nod to what you were just saying. Like, we fucked this up. We've ruined this for the snail.
Ecology, yeah.
And for the turtle and for the,
Right.
but look at them. They're still trucking along, trying to make it work.
Nature has a way of
And we got to
bouncing
do
back.
something.
Yeah. James just said it. And we've talked about it in the Plastic Paradise. We've talked about it in Fantastic Fungi, where if we stepped out, if our species died off today, it's going to take a relatively short amount of time for everything that we've done to be consumed again by the earth.
Right.
Yeah.
And for it to take back over and to heal itself.
Right.
And thrive.
Like in the
And
movie,
thrive.
And
Yeah.
be better off.
Yeah.
the movie Will Smith played in with his
James,
son.
can you talk into the microphone? Thanks.
The movie that Will Smith
Oh my
played
gosh.
in
How much better does that sound?
sounds a lot clearer to me.
Oh man, that's the buttery voice.
That's
of
right, dig it,
James
baby.
Lee Wells.
Dig it. Will Smith played in the movie called Earth, where they had to leave Earth because they just was so much destruction, but they ended up coming back, and when it came back, it was this most fantastic, most beautiful place that could ever be.
Right.
And I was thinking about that. If man was not here, what would happen? National Geographic did the same thing. If man was not here, if human wasn't here,
Yeah.
they played the whole thing. I mean, I think this earth would do fantastic without humans.
Yeah.
Me too.
I hate to say that.
It'd be
but
just fine. Yeah.
It would live.
Yep. But we have to have somewhere to live.
Yep. How about Jupiter?
That's where you go to get more stupider.
There you go. So Jupiter is out. Mars.
Why do you go to Uranus?
Why do you go to Venus?
To get more penis?
Yep.
I ain't going to Venus then. Yeah, that's for sure. I think I'm gonna choose Pluto. That's
If you go to Pluto,
Pluto.
you get more
what.
Buto.
Buto.
Oh, well,
Hey, you know about Buto?
You know about Buto?
Do you know about
Do you
Buto?
know about Buto?
If you're gonna Buto,
If you're going to Buto,
you Buto
you
till you
Buto
die.
till you die.
Those two.
I don't know what that
I
means.
don't know.
Well, it's a thing, and I'll send it to you because it's a documentary about Buto, and it's great.
No one knows what Buto is.
Do you know what it is?
No.
It's a Japanese form of dance, and it is fucking insane.
Is it Buto or Kabuto?
No, it's Buto.
Is Buto not Kabuto?
No.
Okay.
You got to look it up because it's awesome.
Okay, I will.
For sure.
All right, let's rate this thing. What do you think?
Let's do it.
All right. Finally, we've come to the time in our show where we need to rate this documentary with an official documentary rating. Each crew member scores the documentary on a scale of 1 to 10 items, with 1 being as bad as a monsoon bringing sewage water into your hospital, and 10 being as great as watching a healthy kite fly away after you saved its life. The item that is used for scoring changes each week depending on the content of the documentary watched that week. This week, we will be using happy kites as our rating item. So, let's start with King James. James, how many happy kites do you give All That Breathes?
I give the Happy Kites 4. A big
4?
whopping 4.
I'll give the happy kites 4. 4.
A big whopping 4.
A big whopping 4. So, this Oscar-nominated film, Sundance, all these other film, what is this?
I'm bringing it down a notch.
Bring it down.
Bringing it down to a 4.
Turn it down to
We're
4.
at 99 up here, and we're going to bring it down to a 4.
Bring it down to 4.
We're going to bring it down to 4.
Documentary says King James from Talkumentary gives it 4. Why 4, James? Why only 4 measly happy birds?
It really had no good content.
Damn.
I just cut it short real quick. I mean, it had interesting things. I didn't learn anything at all in this documentary. I just saw, I found interesting things. Well, I take that back. I did learn that there's a lot of anger, rage, religious, and birds getting fixed, and they dive bombing people, and I mean, you know, what the heck? And they got that rating. I mean, somebody need to explain to me.
Yeah.
Why did you rate that? What were you looking at that I didn't see?
Right.
You know, because I don't get it.
Me neither.
So you got a big whopping 4 there.
I gave it a 4 as well, for the exact same reasons. I really felt like I wanted one of them sitting next to me while I was watching it. I wanted to be able to ask them, and I don't want to have to do that, you know? So I also gave it 4. Sister?
I also gave it a 4.
4.
4.
4.
Holy foley.
4.
I gave it a 4 because I feel like I walked away from this with more questions than I had when I got there.
Yep.
Because I felt like I grasped the concept of the documentary going into it. But coming out of it, I'm like, wait a minute, I must have missed something.
Was that really the point?
That wasn't the point.
Right.
There was none of those questions were answered. So
I would have loved it
4.
if they would have said we decided to move our operation outside the area to somewhere else. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's where the kites are dying.
And that's where they live. That's home.
It can't be the only spot, can it?
That's home, though. You can't just move away from your home if that's where you live and you love.
Yeah, you know, according to them.
If that's where you
can.
live and you laugh and you love.
Well, according to them, though, you know, if the birds all go to one area, if they can move them from one area, one cage to the top cage, and they'll go there, birds usually migrate like pigeons, just set their homes.
Pigeons?
Yeah, pigeons.
Pigeons.
Not the pigeon, but the pigeons. You know what I'm saying? Pigeon, baby. Anyway,
Pigeons.
this is
That's as low as your voice goes.
You gotta get pigeons.
Pigeons.
Like they. Well, I'm just saying they can relocate themselves. You know?
James, say pigeons as low as you can get it.
Pigeon.
Pigeon. Pigeon.
Yeah.
Pigeon. Pigeon.
Pigeon.
Give your best bird call. Oh my God, that hurt.
You keep telling me to speak into the mic.
That was nice. I don't have one. What's that?
Sound like you're starting up a motor or something. All right. So thanks everybody for listening to our show this evening. We hope you always remember to care for the people and animals around you. All things that breathe are worthy of our love. And we all act as one giant ecosystem that needs us to look after each other. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, King James.
You're quite welcome. There.
You're supposed to thank me back.
Oh yeah, I was supposed to think. You're quite welcome and thank you.
Assalamu alaikum to you.
Salaikum salam.
Yeah. Salaikum salami.
Salami meat.
So like a salami.
I like salami. Okay, I got you there. See, I can read between the lines.
Should we talk about next week?
Yeah.
Yes, let's
Next
do
week,
that.
we're going to take a look at a documentary that has been touted as a portrait of madness, creativity, and love. We're going to look into the life and times of a maniac. I should have said manic depressive genius. I said it wrong. A manic depressive genius singer, songwriter, and artist named Daniel Johnston in a film from 2005 titled The Devil and Daniel Johnston. This is our very own Bryce Necker's all-time favorite documentary, and we have been waiting for this to come onto a streaming service so we can cover it. The funny thing is it was taken off of a streaming service before we got it, but thankfully, Bryce Necker bought the movie and we can watch it now. So, have either of you seen The Devil and Daniel Johnston yet?
Nope.
No, but I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
because
Bryce loves this
When
thing.
I read the thing, it said David Bowie in there, and I was like, all right, yeah, I'm cool.
good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Mommy of the babe.
Babe with the power.
What power?
Power of voodoo.
Who do?
You do. Do what?
Remind me of the babe.
Do.
I don't. I
I'm calling. What do I do?
okay.
Slime mad snails.
Puppy dog tails.
Thunder and lightning.
And baby says,
I don't even know. You guys, this is between the siblings here. I have no clue. You know.
anyway,
That's
everyone,
the second time today I've heard
Yeah.
that song. Thank you.
everyone go out, check out the documentary, The Devil and Daniel Johnston. Good luck finding it.
Yeah.
You can rent it on Amazon Prime. You can rent it on Apple TV, I think, or wherever you fucking feel like it. But check it out because I hear it's good. I haven't watched it yet. I've watched part of it. It's really cool so far. As I said at the beginning, rate and review our podcast. Follow us on all this stuff. If you've been listening this long, go to our social media, our YouTube, and comment the word. James, pick a word.
Flask.
Flask. Comment the word flask on one of our social media pages for a shout out on a future episode. Next week, join us as we express ourselves through music and art, one documentary at a time, on behalf of King James,
Hey.
Lauren, that's me,
It's me.
Matt, and
Oh, wait.
DJ in the booth, and the entire documentary family. I'm your host, Jeff Kolaski, and I want to thank you all for listening. I hope you keep your minds open and be kind to one another. What are you pointing at me for?
You know what to do.
Pull your finger? Is that what you want?
Do it.
Not doing it. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Peace.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
Yep.
Welcome, everybody, back to the super secret ending to our episode. The last couple episodes, we've been doing this little on-topic random trivia from something I Google. And based on what we watched today, we're going to be how well do you know your birds of prey? And we're going to go over that here. All right, so we've started this quiz. It's from howstuffworks.com. These look to be multiple choice.
Okie dokie.
So, all right, number one. Unique New York. Unique New York.
Unique New York.
Tip of the tongue, the tip of the lips.
No.
The tip of the tongue, the teeth, and the lips.
You can't say the tip of the lips. That's so gross. I
The
don't
tip
like it.
of the tongue, the teeth, and the lips. God damn it. How does
So
a bird
angry.
how the fuck does a bird of prey such as a hawk find its prey? Is it radar? Is it satellite? Is it keen eyesight, or it hears it?
Keen eyesight.
I would agree. Let's see. Yep, that's right.
Yes.
Birds of prey have very keen eyesight and can see animals as small as a mouse from very
Little
far
mouse.
away. Even when flying high in the sky, birds of prey have eyesight about 5 to 6 times better than humans, although they can see far away. Many do not see well up close. Okay, number 2.
Ew.
Why do hawks have such a keen ability to see their prey from great distances? They have big eyes, they have more photoreceptors, they use binoculars, or they have 2 sets of eyes.
They have more photoreceptors.
James, you think that's right? I don't know the answer till
I don't know.
till I
So
put
I
it.
think 2 sets of eyes.
James, you're full of fucking shit. 2
They have
sets
tiny binoculars that they keep in
they-
their bird pocket.
They have 4 eyes. They wear glasses.
That's what it is. Hey, you know,
They wear
bifocals
glasses.
though.
They have
Hey, can I hit the choices again?
binoculars.
They have big eyes. They have more photoreceptors.
Ding,
They
ding, ding.
use tiny little binoculars, or they have 2 sets of eyes.
Okay, I'll go with the photo one.
Photoreceptor, all right.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. Birds of prey have such keen eyesight because they have more photoreceptors per square millimeter in their retinas than they other animals. For
In their
example,
rectums?
in the rectums, humans have about 200,000 per square millimeter, and a bird of prey has about 1 million per square millimeter.
Wow.
Christ.
They have 4 types of color receptors, enabling them to see the ultraviolet spectrum as well as the visible light
Why
color
is he so
spectrum.
mad?
Like bees.
Yeah. Okay. Next one. What was once a common nickname for the red-tailed hawk years ago? A foghorn leghorn, a chicken hawk, a turkey buzzard, or a freebird?
Is it a chicken hawk?
James, what do you think? Foghorn leghorn, a chicken hawk, a turkey buzzard, or a freebird?
I will go ahead and say a turkey hawk.
Well, that's not one of the options.
Turkey buzzard.
Is a chicken hawk or a turkey buzzard?
Okay, I'll go ahead and say chicken hawk.
Okay, I think it's that too, but it is.
Yes,
Nice job.
3 out of 3.
Years ago, when more people kept chickens, many of those were free-range chickens, meaning they roamed around openly. These free-ranging chickens
Openly.
made easy targets for the juvenile red-tailed hawks, so the nickname chicken hawk was given to them. You may remember the chicken hawk from the Saturday morning cartoons when you were a kid.
Foghorn leghorn?
Foghorn leghorn. Many bird species migrate, which means they travel distances in large groups called flocks. Hawks also are known to migrate, but a group of hawks is often called something else. What is a group of hawks called? Does anyone know this before I...
No, I wish it was a mohawk.
That'd be fun. Mohawks. There's more than
There's
one
not
hawk.
just one.
There's
There's
mo.
mohawks.
Is it a flock spelled FLAWK?
Oh, that'd be kind of fun too.
Is it a kettle?
Kettle of fish.
Have you had your gum in this whole time?
Nope, I just put it back in.
It's disgusting.
I know, I did it just for you.
Is it called a teapot? Or is it
No.
called a gang of hawks?
It's probably a gang.
It's got to be a kettle, doesn't it?
No, it's a kettle of fish.
You said that so confidently. You don't know.
I'm fairly certain it's a gang of hawks.
Yeah,
James?
I like that. She's been batting 100, so I'm gonna go with the gang
Don't
hawk.
blame me if it's wrong.
It's wrong. It's a kettle. Like I said, when most
Kettle of
bird
fish.
species migrate in large groups, it's called a flock, except for a gaggle of geese or a rafter of domestic turkeys. While in other countries,
Turkeys
they may
fly?
call it something different. In North America, when hawks migrate, we call them a kettle of hawks. All right. How long can a red-tailed hawk live in the wild? 5 years, 2 years, 15 years, or 50 years?
15 years.
15 years is correct.
Good job.
How fast can a red-tailed hawk fly when cruising, and how fast can they dive when attacking prey?
Oh, jeez.
The answer is 30 miles per hour.
On
Or
a dive?
30 miles per hour when cruising and 120 miles per hour when attacking prey.
Wow, very close to a peregrine falcon.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Eagles build large nests high up in the trees or mountainsides and cliffs. These nests are often as wide as 6 to 8 feet to accommodate the large birds. What is an eagle's nest called? Is it called an eagle's nest? Is it called an eyrie? Eyrie? Is it called a bundle or is it called a bumble?
I'll say bundle.
I think it's called an eyrie.
I think so too.
It is.
Yes.
Dang it.
Is it like Lake Erie? It's spelled different.
No, it's spelled different. Yeah.
It'd be kind of cool if it was, though.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have any other fun ones before we get going? Oh, here you go. This is fun. Although not the largest of the apex predator birds of prey, what is the bald eagle noted for? Is it being the coolest? Is it carrying the heaviest load?
Ooh.
Is it having the widest wingspan? Or is it flying higher than any other? Or is it America?
America. Does it have the widest wingspan?
James
It
says
flies higher. Flies the highest.
no. It can't be because it's being the coolest.
I mean, it could be, but I doubt that there's a popularity contest going.
I'll go with the heavy load.
Heavy.
So what do you guys want to put?
Go with James's answer. I was wrong last time.
All right, carrying the heaviest load is correct.
Whoa!
Although not the largest of the birds, the
disgusting.
bald eagle is among the largest. What it is best noted for is carrying the heaviest load of any bird. An eagle weighing 12 to 14 pounds was verified carrying a fawn weighing about 15 pounds. While most birds carry about half their weight, the bald eagle can carry its own weight, making it the strongest.
Dang, look at that baby. It's
Yeah, look at that.
like a small hill. Dang.
More like a speed bump.
Look at mine. Looks like a small seal.
There you go. Look at the part of that. Oh, look at the bicep ones come up there. Oh, yeah. That's you got something going on there, Lil, you know. Ain't no wrong with ball legs.
I don't have anything going on mine.
Okay, well, that was Talkumentary After Hours with some trivia to round out the episode, and everyone's having a great time. And,
I am.
yeah,
Yeah,
we'll see y'all. We'll see y'all in a little while.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Is this part on the thing?
Oh, it will be.
Yay! That's what I was going for.